Welcome to our study called Sin at the Door, and we're looking at Genesis 4, 1 through 16. Today is an introduction to what we'll be looking at for the rest of this study. So in Genesis chapters 1 and 2, we saw that God created everything perfectly. He created mankind in His image to rule and have dominion over the earth and all the creatures. Mankind had a perfect relationship with God and with themselves. Then chapter 3 happened. Eve was deceived into sinning against God, and Adam took the fruit from Eve's hand and ate it, thereby sealing the downfall of all humanity. Their sin brought about a curse from God upon the entire universe. What was perfection quickly began to devolve into darkness, guilt, shame, and a broken relationship. And ultimately, separation from God. All that was pure and good and holy on the earth now had the stain of sin. But God, who is rich in mercy, did not just burn up the world and all of its inhabitants. No, now He reached out to Adam and Eve and clothed their nakedness Himself. He promised to send one that would be the offspring of Eve, who would crush the head of Satan. Amongst the curse, there were promises of God, promises of offspring, promises of pain, promises of death, promises of victory. As we look at this study, we'll have the opportunity to look at a familiar story of Cain and Abel. Despite the growing biblical illiteracy of our culture, this is one of those stories that still finds its way into the narrative of our world. Am I my brother's keeper? Is a phrase that still reverberates in the hearts of man today, even thousands and thousands of years later. People of all ages and backgrounds can understand the turmoil that can happen in families. And so the story carries on. Yet, though the world has not forgotten the story, they have forgotten the main character of the story. The story of Cain and Abel is not just about two brothers that can't get along. It's not just a tragic story of hatred and murder. This story is ultimately about God. God wants us humans to know about Him. And through the events that occur in this story, we see some very important things that will impact the rest of history and impacts our understanding of who God is. As we read through the different scenes in the story, I want to point out some things about God along the way. God gives children. God rejects wrong worship. God cares. God judges. God is merciful. And we'll see all these things as we go through Genesis chapter 4.